What's up? Rupert here, the Natural Capitalist. In this video, we are going to be breaking down and talking about the biggest interview on earth in history, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Musk interviewing Trump, hosted on his platform X, zero censorship, 100% all the way through. You can listen to it too. I'll put a link in the description. It is well worth the listen. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, let's add some context, right? Donald Trump, when he was president of the US, was the very first president to be censored by social media platforms at the end of his presidency, when he was, kicking up a stink, complaining and inciting violence around the election results, right? Now, he was suspended from Twitter, Facebook, Insta, and maybe some other platforms as well. And he was only reinstated to Twitter once Musk purchased it. Right, so this is all 2021. 2022 is when Musk started buying shares in Twitter aggressively, and by April 2022, he was the major stakeholder and initiated a takeover bid to purchase the company for, I think it was around $44 billion. It was a pretty big deal. He made it quickly to capture this platform because he could see what was happening with the sort of capture of social media by sort of, censorship and a totalitarian woke mind virus mindset, as Musk would call it. Now, Trump was reactivated back onto Twitter when Musk took over, but he didn't really use the platform. I think about a year ago, he, posted a couple of tweets, but then was inactive on Twitter up until this point. And these guys must have initiated a conversation. Musk saying, hey, Trump, why don't you get back on? I'll interview you, have a conversation, and we'll broadcast it live. It is now the, biggest live tune-in of a conversation ever anywhere in the history of the world. And apparently it's clocked up about 1 billion views, in around 24 hours of it being broadcast, and we have all of the, typical mainstream media conversations, all of the negative headlines focusing on all sorts of random stuff, right? It's all meant to confuse you. It's all meant to distract you from the core essence of the message, which is around free speech, the free discussion of ideas, censorship free. Musk really cares about this. This is why he purchased X, to allow this to continue. This is why he is giving a big F off to all the totalitarians who are trying to shut him down. And there is calls now, to have Twitter shut down. And, they might even come after him, as is discussed, in other platforms and other conversations. Now, there's a few moments here in the video which, I want to focus on, which I think are really important moments, right? But in essence, Musk is saying why he's doing this, right? Because he cares about things and he thinks that the way it's going with the Democrats is not going to be very good for America. Now, the first clip that I want to play is around 2 minutes in, and it really shows why Trump is so popular, because he's a charming dude, right? He can make people laugh in serious situations, and also this moment also shows why Musk has, it's a turning point for Musk, right? This president or incoming president has attempted assassination attempt on him, and he gets up saying fight, 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 and Musk really wants that in a leader for America and believes it's important. Now, let's have a look at this first 2-minute moment.
Thank you. Well, maybe we could start off with, the assassination attempt, which was an incredible thing. And I have to say that, your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. You, instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in the air and saying, fight, fight, fight. And I think that's, the president of the United States represents America. And I think that is America. That is strength under fire. And so that's, a big, part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the president of the United States for having another term here, is that was just incredibly inspiring. But what was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have to
Not
be honest.
pleasant.
I said there was
Yeah.
blood. I had
Being
more
shot is
blood.
not
I didn't
much
know I
fun.
had. I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that the ear is a place that is a very bloody place.
Now you can see here this moment really reveals the why Musk has jumped in on this, thrown his weight behind Trump. He really feels this is an important quality in a leader for America to maintain its position of, global supremacy, you might say, and influence as sort of like this cultural reference point for freedom and for strength. And Trump shows his charm, right? Like he just makes Musk laugh, he breaks the ice, and this is why people love Trump. You can disagree with his actual policies, but then this is why he's so popular, because he is charming. He can actually have a conversation, which you do not get from the other side of politics. It's really quite disturbing. Now, the other thing that's really important to note here is why this conversation goes really well. Both of these men are businessmen. They like to get stuff done, right? They're both operating from that orange solar plexus modern paradigm of business, get things done. This is why the conversation went so well and was so, bouncing back and forth. You can really feel that in the conversation. There's no aggressive, there's no takedowns. A classic postmodern approach in a conversation is to continually deconstruct everything. But the dark side of that is you left deconstructed with like a whole bunch of random stuff scattered around, and you can't actually prioritize or put together a frame anymore. Now, so this is why this conversation went so well and is so popular, because the world is starving for a meaningful and good conversation, long-form conversations. This is why podcasts are blowing up. This is why, Tucker Carlson can leave Fox and still have strong numbers. This is why Musk bought Twitter and can pull the amount of numbers now just having a conversation with Musk and with Trump, and he has invited Harris to jump on this in a similar forum to have a conversation. Whether or not that will happen, probably not, because the establishment and those operating within this paradigm, they don't want conversations. They run around in circles, and they can't actually form cohesive conversations because it's all political rhetoric, right? It's all just formalities and political niceties without actually having a real conversation. Now, Trump, I'm not endorsing Trump at all, but he can have a conversation. He does like to tell tall stories. He does like to exaggerate, but if you can sort of pick that through the way he speaks, you can actually get to the underlying message, right? Trump is still playing this political game, so you have to actually be discerning in trying to understand what he's trying to say underneath that. All right, so that's the first little intro. The next moment here is at the end of this first 15 minutes where, Trump is really just recounting the story of being shot, which is an epic, epic story, right? It doesn't happen that often, and only when presidents are assassinated or incoming presidents are assassinated or attempted assassinations, it's only when they're challenging the status quo, right? And mainly the status quo around money. And, Trump was shot at 2 days after he announced he's going to the Bitcoin conference, and he's, embracing this idea of sound money and bringing in, reducing the size of government, reducing the size of their spending to cut inflation. We can argue about whether he was actually doing that in office or not, but at least he's having this conversation. On the other side, we just have complete nonsense coming out of these people's mouths that actually have no understanding of economic reality or how economics work, and they think that, we can just spend infinite for infinity, and don't even realize that devalues the currency and makes life harder and worse for everybody. So here we are at the end of that little, spiel about recounting the story of being shot at.
It was
And
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It was
another funny little moment here.
A terrible
Well,
thing, but it was
incredibly,
nice.
incredibly moving. Yeah. Well, and I mean, speaking of the sort of slide that got you to turn that saved your life, really, was the illegal immigration slide. Maybe this,
That's right.
maybe this is worth talking about that.
It was
That slide saved
You're
your
right.
life,
No,
basically.
the illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but it was, and I
I
had to
know
be at
that's
that exact angle.
I mean, that's a great one. saved by illegal
You know,
immigration.
the incredible
100%.
thing, though, when you talk about the odds, you had to be exactly at that angle.
Right, this is just another moment that reveals the humanness within these two characters, right? Again, you can disagree with their approach, you can disagree about their policies, but moments like this reveal that they are actually human, and you don't get that in the mainstream established media or narrative. It's all, done up, dressed up, political niceties, and there's no realness to it, right? This is why Musk and Trump are becoming so popular. This is why Twitter is now the biggest and most popular platform in the world. And this was now the most viewed interview in history. Okay, this is a big deal, like big deal, because what happens in America influences the rest of the world. This is why I'm paying attention to it, because it does actually directly impact my life here in Australia. Now, for the next, 10 minutes, they're talking about immigration and illegal immigration, which is a really big deal in America. There's this open border policy on the Mexican border, and it's not just Mexicans who are coming across, right? Now there's people from all over the world coming to Mexico to cross this border. And, it's sometimes from the left, they're sort of pretending that it's not happening. Trump was trying to get a wall put up. They sold all of the pieces of his wall, 5 cents on the dollar, apparently, all this stuff. So it's a real contentious point in America. The left side of politics, they just want the open border. They want to give the right to vote, welfare, free healthcare for everyone that comes across. It's a very open, compassionate level, but we'll see later on in the clip about how it's, it's a shallow type of empathy rather than a deep empathy for the whole situation. And Musk wanted to figure out what's going on. Is this really happening? So he goes to the border himself, and you can check out the video that he's done on Twitter of him going to the border to find out for himself, to get direct on the ground truth and journalism, which we're just not getting from any other kind of major platform or major, personality or celebrity with reach and influence. Now let's check this out here.
Probably not working.
No, it's horrible.
Whether it's a question of intention or competence, either way, we don't have a secure border, and we have people streaming over like it looks like a World War Z zombie apocalypse at times. And sometimes you got to sort of wonder, like, is it real or not? So because you see things, you're like, is it real? So I went to the border at Eagle Pass, and I saw for myself in Texas, and I was like, okay, it's real. I'm like seeing this in real time. I actually posted the video like just live. I just flew there one day and just to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly.
These are
people can look at my video and say,
Yeah.
hey, these people look friendly. I don't look super friendly. So
These are people that Elon would not be the same man if he had to walk across the street and look these people in the eye. These are rough people. These are really rough people coming across. And I know rough people. And these are people that we don't want in our country. And, the caravans are coming in, and they're putting, and who's doing this are the heads of the countries. And you would be doing
Yeah.
it, and so would I. And everyone would say, oh, what a terrible thing to say. The fact is, it's brilliant for them because they're taking all of their bad people, really bad people. And
As the next thing I want to show you is around 39 minutes in, where Musk really reiterates the importance of having a tough president, and Trump's response really shows how tactfully he plays this game of global politics like a businessman, right? He is a businessman. He's not a career politician. He doesn't want to be doing this, as I'll show you later in this video. And he's not a warmonger, right? He's a businessman who likes to do deals with people, but he still likes to throw his weight around in a sort of tactful, sharky-like business manner, but still respecting the sovereignty of other global world leaders, even if he doesn't agree with their politics. Now let's have a listen to this little moment.
The immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security, because there's some real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to do.
I know every one of
and
them.
that puts it puts the whole world in danger.
Elon, I know every one
It's
of
a
them,
big
and I
deal.
know them well. I know Putin, I know President Xi, I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people will say, oh, this is terrible. He said, I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough, they're smart, they're vicious, and they're going to protect their country, whether they love their country. They probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these
Yeah,
are tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a Kamala or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even
yeah,
believe it. They can't believe this happened. All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that you look at Israel, they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. You know, when I was there, and I say it with respect because I think we would have been good with Iran. I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And I meant it. And they said, we'll
yeah,
pass.
yeah.
They didn't buy oil. Other countries, likewise.
Sure.
You want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States.
Now, here at 1 hour and 29 minutes, it really highlights the gravity of the situation. Have a listen to this.
Worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If we have her as a president, if we have a Democrat at this moment as a president, I don't think our country can survive.
I think it's a massive. I think we're in massive trouble, frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. Um, and uh, and I think really it's essential that you win for the good of the country for this election, and I mean that's understating my opinion. Now,
Understating my opinion, right? This 30 seconds here really shows why Musk is throwing his weight in on this, right? He's seen how Kamala Harris and leftist sort of ideology and government thinking and decision making has really pulled down and deconstructed society into sort of more primitive and primal ways, right? Like we're talking about city infrastructure being overrun with immigrants and, people in higher inflation and people not being able to earn a living and people on the streets and tent cities and drug and crime and all sorts of stuff that's happening in these spaces. It's really worrying, Musk. And the reason that this type of thinking and politics proliferates because it relies on this, grandstanding, moral posturing, and then this sort of emotionally driven, feelings driven guilt politics to silence people, right? And if people are silent, if good men stand by and say nothing, stand by and allow it to happen by saying nothing, this is how we slide down the slippery slope towards totalitarian, dictatorial, authoritarian regimes, which is not good for anyone, okay? Really, really big point. This is why Musk is throwing his weight in on this. He came from apartheid South Africa. He knows the deal here, right? And he's not against immigration. He's just about tightening these borders and making sure the right people come in. I think somewhere else in the interview he's talking about, we want the right people on Team America. Who are we going to select? Who do we want on the team? Right. 1 hour and 33 minutes. This really is another key moment where Trump talks about the danger from within. And now I can personally attest to this, right? As I've built my own organization, the danger comes from within with this leftist deconstructive mentality. It's trying to pull everything apart, but then it leaves you with nothing to stand on, right? It throws the baby out with the bath water, and it really is a regressive tactic sending us into sort of much lower much more basic and primitive forms of paradigms and values and reality. Okay, let's have a listen.
People within and the enemies on the outside. In many cases, the people from within are more dangerous for our country than the Russias and the Chinas. If you have a smart president, you're not going to have a problem with them. You're going to do things.
yeah,
Now, they've taken advantage
yeah,
of us
absolutely.
incredibly, but you're going to do things with the right person.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with with false attacks, and you didn't try to shut down the media, you didn't try to inhibit their freedom of speech, and I think that says a lot.
Well, the good thing is that you and I have, and some people, very few, we can get the word out. Although sometimes it's hard because they don't want to print it, like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't because she's not
No.
smart. She's not a smart person, by the way. She can't have this conversation. And Biden, we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, he couldn't have this conversation. He would have given up on the first half of a question. He would have walked out. He would have said, "Where am I? Where am I going?" So anyway, but
Yeah,
no, he wouldn't have this.
that's true.
Not a lot of people would have this conversation, but we cover a lot of territory. But the beauty is that we can have a conversation, and
Yes, you
I'm
can actually
able
have a
to get it
conversation.
out without because I get treated
this is a
unfairly
this
by
is a
the
really
press.
big point. You can actually have a conversation with you,
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
and you can't have a conversation with Biden or Kamala. It's like not it's not possible.
That's true.
Um,
It's
so this is like talking to an NPC.
now.
So it's just
Well,
impossible.
but think of it. We need a man or person who's
Right, this really is a very key point here, right? We have two characters who have a big say and a big influence on what happens in the world today and affects millions, if not billions of people. And it's really important that we can actually tune in and listen to conversations as if we're sitting at the table, right? This is why it's blowing up. This is why people want to hear it. It is as if we are sitting at the table of two global leaders having a conversation around the dinner table. And this is what's happening, right? This is how deals get done. This is how it's all happening. So it's a really powerful, insightful insight into this. And, we want that in our leaders. We want them to be able to have a conversation and to be, show that they're not NPCs, right? Non-player characters, as Musk would call it, because, NPCs are basically just running on a script. They're not actually thinking, they're not using their brain, and they don't demonstrate any competency in these realms.
unbelievably sharp in order to stop all the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about. And I got along with all these. I got along with Kim Jong Un. We had dinner. We had everything, and he really liked me, and I got along with him really well. By the way, he's the absolute boss over there. A lot of people said, "Oh, do you think he really?"
That's for
Let me
sure.
tell you, I saw things that you don't want to know about. He is the boss. But we had a good relationship, and he doesn't like Biden. He considers him a stupid man. He said he's a stupid man. Well, at least he speaks his mind. But in this country, you're not sort of allowed to say it, but I guess you are. You should be allowed to say it if
Yeah.
it's true. But we need smart people, and we need people that have an ability to lead. And she doesn't have that ability. Can you imagine? Now,
Yeah.
Chairman Xi very well. Can you imagine her and him negotiating or
No, it's
even
silly. It would be
standing
silly.
together? It is the whole
Yeah.
concept is ridiculous. She is terrible. She's terrible. But she's getting a free ride. I
It
saw a
would.
picture of her
Yeah. Yeah.
on Time Magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing, and actually,
Yeah.
she looked very much like our great first lady, Melania. She looked,
Yeah.
didn't look,
Yeah.
she didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman, so we'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah, well, maybe like I think part of what people in America want to, people in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the
It's
future is
true.
going to be better than the past, and that America is going to do things that are greater than we've done in the past, reach
Right.
new heights that make you proud to be an American, and excited about the future. Um,
They want the
and I
American
think
dream
this,
back. They want the American dream back. More important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people they've been just sucked. They see incompetent people running our. You know, the Biden thing is very interesting. People just found him to be incompetent, and when I debated him, I was like, "Is this for real?" It was
yeah, it was just
And this is another little key moment in here, right? Trump is stepping into this arena to play this game because he's really concerned about the direction America is heading. And we'll look at another clip later in how he doesn't really want to be doing this, that he had a good life. And it really shows the significance here and the importance of what is going on, right? We need characters who can display competence, who can hold conversation, who are tough on negotiation, but are not just straight up, mindless trolls, the puppeteers for some other thing that's going on behind the scenes. Now, I'm not saying Trump isn't a puppet. He's sitting within this nested system of, global elites. And there's even a moment in there where he reveals, if you listen to the full interview, how he steps into office, but he can't take care of every decision. So he has to trust the people around him, and that he trusted people that, he thought were experts or who knew what was going on. And, they basically did bad things or did bad decisions that he wouldn't necessarily agree with again. And he then says, okay, now if I'm going to get in again, I know who my people will be, who I can trust, who I can put into place. right? These guys are businessmen. You have to remember they're businessmen and they're just trying to get things done. They're very much operating from that orange business corporate perspective, right? They're not so much in the green heart space, although Musk is to a large extent, and he does show concern for the environment. But again, as the dark side of green is pulling everything apart, deconstructing everything, we're kind of regressing back and having to go back and look at these different value sets and what do we actually want to keep from these value sets to put it all together and move to an integral framework. Okay. The next thing that we're going to jump to here is, where Trump compliments Musk and that we need sharp minds to be having these conversations and making these decisions. Let's have a listen.
That economy up so fast, and people are going to be back again. We're going to get rid of
Yeah,
inflation.
I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Right.
Absolutely. So,
And I just
I,
want to
I
I want to
think
congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind. We can talk. You and I can talk about rockets and
it's kind of you to say. Thank you.
tunnels. We can talk about tunnels and rockets and electric cars. So many things. And now you're into the AI, and that's going to be another beauty, I'll say. So
Yeah.
it's an amazing thing you've done, Elon. It's an amazing thing, and I
Well,
congratulate you.
I mean, thank you. And well, I mean, I just say here, here's to an exciting, inspiring future that people can look forward to and be optimistic and excited about what happens next. And that's the kind of future that I think you will bring as president, and that's why I endorse you.
Well, I appreciate that. That endorsement meant a lot to me. Not all endorsements mean that much, to be honest. Your endorsement meant a lot. And, we have a phrase, make America great again. It's pretty simple, but it really says that we want to make America great again. And we can do it. We can do it now. But if we were going to suffer another 4 years like we've suffered for the last 4 years, I'm not sure the country can ever come back. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. We have to do a lot
I
of
think that's a
things.
very real
Yeah,
risk.
it's a big
That's a
risk.
very real risk.
Yeah.
And it's I'd just like to note to people listening, like I've not been very political before, and if you look at my record, I've actually been I'm not like some they try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd because I'm like making electric vehicles and solar and batteries helping with the environment, and and I actually I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president, and so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed in the wool long term Republican. I call myself, uh, historically a moderate Democrat, but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country, and uh, I think a lot of people thought the Biden administration would be a moderate administration, but it's not, and obviously we're just going to see an even further left uh, administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. I mean, she was brought up as an actual. Her dad is a Marxist economist. You can Google it. I mean, it's not a. We're not making this up. That's how she was brought up. So, uh, and we want to have a future that is prosperous. And I think we're just at this critical juncture, and I think this is a case of the America is going to at a fork in the road,
It's true.
and I think it will take if the path to, like you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. Then that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself, and but I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before, and I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left, and so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say I think you should support um, Donald Trump for president. And I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
Well, I want to thank you. And, I actually always did think of you as somewhat left. I must say that. So it's it's
Yeah.
even more of an
Well,
honor to have
yeah.
your endorsement. I know how strong you feel about it. But, when you think of her, San Francisco 15 years ago, I had a great friend, Bob Tish. He said it's the greatest city in America, and now it's almost not livable there. And California likewise. And she was involved in the destruction of San Francisco and the destruction of California, and she will be involved in the destruction of our country if people are so unwise as to elect her. And I hope that doesn't happen. And I hope the elections are going to be run honestly. And we're going to turn this country around. We're going to do things that, and we can do it fairly quickly. And we have to get rid of the criminals that have been, given to us by other countries as they laugh. They laugh at
Yeah,
us. They think we're stupid to accept these people. These are radical, stone cold killers in many cases and terrorists. And they're in our country by the hundreds of thousands.
yeah,
And we have to take
yeah.
them out.
Yeah, I mean, if I could summarize it, perhaps, I think these are issues that I think most people in America would agree with, which is that we want safe and clean cities, we want secure borders, we want sensible government spending, we want to restore both the perception and reality of respect in the judicial system, just stop the lawfare, and I think that's like, and how are those even right wing positions? I think those are that's just common sense, and that's I mean, would you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah, and look, this is really a key moment here, right? It comes back to being common sense. The left is drifting so far to an extremist perspective that they're shouting that everything else is extremist. Whereas people like Musk and myself, who were traditionally moderate, left-leaning people, but anti-authoritarian, are now being labeled as far-right, misogynist, we're part of the establishment, part of the patriarchy, it's all got to come down. This is the postmodernist deconstructive approach, and it throws the baby out with the bathwater, and if we're not careful, it's going to send us right back to primal, primitive times, right? Because when people can't put food in their mouths, they're desperate, they're thinking, they get quite primal, and we're going to end up in civil war. We're seeing this, the start of it in the UK. They've got high immigration numbers, they've got a left-leaning government in power, and if this happens in America, it's going to accelerate the process in America, and Australia, where we live, is also on this same trajectory. Now, the last little bit of the conversation here is the last 5 to 6 minutes, where Musk talks about deep empathy and that how the left kind of used shallow empathy to sort of push their political agenda with feelings. And then Trump jumps right in at the end. This is the last 5 minutes, and how he explains how he doesn't need this, right? He had a good life. He is a businessman. He was successful in business. He's only getting into politics because he's actually really concerned about the direction that the country is heading. Whereas everyone else, especially on the left, we've got career politicians who only know of life and existence within the bureaucracy, and they're not actually productive members of society producing goods and services. They're the ones there like leeching off those that bring the goods and services to the table, and then saying, hey, we need to give these goods and services to everyone, and we're going to take from you and distribute it and run the infinite debts. So let's have a listen to this last 5 to 6 minutes of the conversation, which is probably the most potent.
It's just that you want to have empathy for
Right.
people. Obviously, you want to have empathy for people. I totally agree with that. You want to have empathy, but you also have to have empathy for the victims of the criminals. And if you just have empathy for the criminals, it's actually shallow empathy. It's not real. You're not thinking. You're one layer deep empathy. You got to say, like, what if you don't incarcerate this person? Who are they going to hurt? Who are they might kill someone. They might rape someone. If you don't incarcerate them, you have to have empathy for the victims. And there's a lack of empathy for the victims of the criminals, and too much empathy for the criminals. It doesn't make sense. That's why you want to have deep empathy for society as a whole, not shallow empathy for
That's right.
criminals.
And we have to give our police officers the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And we have to let them do their job. They can do a great job, but we have to let them do their job. And if we don't do that, it's going to all disappear. There's never been a society like this where you're allowed to do anything you want and nothing happens. And I'm talking about violent crime. And it's going to get more violent because these are really, really violent people, and we're going to get them out of our country, and we're going to get them back to where, because they were sent here by the presidents and by the various people that run the countries, and I know every one of those guys, and they're smart people, and they're streetwise people, and they really think that the USA is stupid. They think we're run by, so they happen to be right. But when I was there, we had no problem. We got them out. We took out thousands of MS-13 gang members. We brought them back. And now, again, it's the same old story. We don't do it. And they actually gave them a big increase in aid. They raised it up to billions of dollars, and they get nothing for it. So, it's. I hope everybody's going to vote for Trump, and we're going to get this country straight.
Yeah.
And I didn't need this.
I,
I'm like you. I didn't need this. I had a very nice
yeah.
life. I didn't need to go
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
court systems and go through all the other stuff and run at the
Sure.
same time. I have to run. I have to go through fake trials with, in some cases, corrupt judges, totally corrupt judges. I didn't need it. I had a nice life. I have great locations. I have beautiful oceans that I have places. This was, but I felt it was important. And if I had to do it over again, you probably think I'm crazy for doing it, actually. But if I had to do it over again, I would have done it over again, because this is so much more important than me or my life. We're going to save this country. This country is going down. And these people are bad people that we're running against, and they're liars. They make statements. They do things that are so bad. They say they're going to make a strong border. They say they've been great on the border, and they've been the worst in history. They say they're
Yeah,
going to
it's
stop
terrible. Like
crime,
the
and
facts speak for themselves. The
it's so
facts
incredible.
speak for themselves. Like it's gotten to the point where people just don't even bother reporting crime in a lot of
That's
cities
right.
because they know nothing is going to happen. Um, that's what I hear anecdotally from people all the time. So it's just my values. I'm just saying to people out there, like the things I think are important for the future is like we've got to have safe cities, we've got to have secure borders, we've got to have sensible spending, and we've got to have deregulation, and
Right.
so we can have a prosperous future. And then we want to have some exciting, sort of moonshot projects that people can get fired up about, and that's the future I'm looking for. And I'm pro environment, but I'm not against. I'm not like I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry because they're keeping civilization going right now, and but I do think we want to move at a reasonable speed towards a sustainable energy economy. Those are my values, and I think and so I mean that's why I'm supporting you for president.
Well, I
So
appreciate it. We're going to give incentive to.
Now, this here is a really, really telling moment, right? Musk has dedicated his life to electric cars. He's very pro-environment, solar panels, all the sort of stuff, right? Taking action towards this environmental sort of initiative. But he lists there his top 4 priorities, right? We need safe cities. We need to close the borders. We need sensible spending and reduce the government bureaucracy. These are all aspects of lower orders of consciousness from the solar plex and the sacral chakra, right? We need safety. We need to reduce the spending. These are just like the basic things that need to be in place to actually care about the environment and make the environment a priority. This is why it's slipped down the list for Musk. All right, and this basically wraps up the conversation between Musk and Trump. I'll put a link to the full conversation below. Make sure you take a listen. It really does impact on all of our lives across the world. Let me know what you think of this summary and my commentary below by dropping a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe to The Natural Capitalist. I'll catch you next time. Peace.